The Arizona Cardinals have got their guy. Michael LaFleur, you're up. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast platform. The Arizona Cardinals got their guy, hiring Michael LaFleur to a 5-year deal after whiffing on Clint Kubiak, after Michael LaFleur reportedly whiffed on the Raiders job because they offered it to Clint Kubiak. Now the Cardinals have their first choice. I mean, it's been an interesting juggling over the last 10 days or so. It's been an interesting process lasting, 28 or 29 days. And now the Cardinals have their guy for the next 5 years, and we'll see how it goes. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. So here's the thing, man. There's some initial pros and cons. We'll discuss that in the second segment. There's the what's next on the pecking order conversation, which I'll discuss in the third. But overall, could be worse. We don't know a lot about this guy outside of him having some flashes with the Jets as the offensive coordinator under Robert Saleh, with Zach Wilson and others as quarterback. Garrett Wilson won Rookie of the Year that year, I believe. George Kittle broke the record for receiving yards for a tight end when he was with the 49ers in either 2018 or 2019, and he's on the McVay and Shanahan tree, which is something that everybody salivates over. That's what we know. What we also know is the Rams offense has been really good since he's been there. Hasn't been calling the plays, but he's been a part of that offense. And obviously through osmosis and mentorship, being around Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay can do nothing but help. That's about all we know. So when you went from, not being able to get the people you really wanted, there were obviously, fringe guys at best to even look to the Arizona Cardinals for a potential offer. They're going with the times and signing a young offensive-minded guy that seemed to have worked well for many teams. Finally, I can put to rest I hope it's not Vance Joseph, it's going to be Vance Joseph kind of thing. When I read those tea leaves wrong, it was hypothetical and it was circumstantial, and all I was doing was looking at situational things, be like, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if this were the case. Never said I wanted that to be the case, but now they're on a high wire act without a safety net. If there were to be a safety net, it'd be Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan's tutelage. That said, we don't know what it is yet. I know a lot are like, oh, I'm so excited for Michael LaFleur. Cool, that's great. It's great to feel good things about this team. It's great to feel good things about this team. We don't know what it is yet. So I'm reserving judgment with maybe a little bit more excitement of the unknown than fear. But this is a guy who wanted another opportunity, didn't get it, and settled for the Cardinals. That's not to say that he's not going to quickly ingrain himself in the fibers of State Farm Stadium and be a great leader at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just, the Cardinals didn't get, quote unquote, their guy. They got a guy who is very smart, young, offensive-minded, with great teachers. That's who they got. And that could bear fruits to incredible things. And you hope it does. You hope it does. Big questions, one of which is answered. He is going to be calling the plays, reported by local radio today. I think Gamble reported it. He will be calling the plays. Okay. My biggest thing going into this cycle was it's difficult to be a first-time head coach and to call plays also. Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay make it look easy. That's not to say it's like, oh, cool, it's going to be the same thing. Sweet, guys. Now, a mini pro to that is, reading, watching, talking to people that I know, around the Jets organization and with the Rams. They're saying his offense is weird, like good weird. His offense has got wrinkles. It's got twitch to it. It's not run, play action, deep pass. So I think the most exciting part about all of this is what can happen with Marv. It's what can happen with Michael Wilson. It's what can continue to happen with Trey McBride if there is another level that he can hit in another offense. And I think the majority of it for me is what this, not the majority, a large chunk of this could be, is going to be for me is what the run game is going to be. Because they run the ball very well in both San Francisco and Los Angeles. Breece Hall had a very good year under Michael LaFleur. A lot of it was home run stuff early on for Breece. But, you know, if you're reading the tea leaves and you want to put everything together with like construction paper at this point, because they're all coming from different parts of the country with different teams, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. I think it's a weakness of mine to look around and look in the past of the Cardinals and say, first-time head coach, first-time play caller. And I'm not comparing him to Cliff Kingsbury for 1 second. It's just that was the last we experienced of this. It was the last we experienced of this. So when you look at where they are now, you look at the roster construction, sure, we're going to talk so much about Kyler Murray because he's now part of the plot again. We're going to talk so much about Kyler. He's part of the plot again. Can Michael LaFleur run a Kyler Murray-friendly offense? Can you run a Kyler Murray-friendly offense? Don't know. At least this is the example that I use. You know, when you get little anxiety, I have like 5 things I have to do. I haven't even written them down yet. I haven't put them on a list yet. So you write them down on a list and you check that first box. There's that little, the first inaugural exhale. That's what's happened. And I guess you could say now the Cardinals have the third best play caller in the NFC West because Clint Kubiak's gone. Maybe. I don't know, man. I was a little bit more down about it this past weekend. It's just how it happened just didn't look good. Didn't look good for both sides. Like, all right, so both of them wanted the apple of the eye of the Raiders or Clint Kubiak, but flipped. And now it's like, oh, got our guy. It's like, no, you didn't. You got a guy who I'm sure you respect and everything like that, but this seems much more like an arranged marriage than what both sides actually wanted. Hopefully, doesn't matter. Hopefully, they'll hit the ground running, whatever cliche you want to use. They'll hit a solid free agency, knock the draft out of the park, and be ready to rip in 2026, regardless of who the quarterback is. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. What are the initial pros and cons? Initial pros and cons of hiring a first-time head coach who's going to be calling the plays on his own for the second time, but, you know, with actual other, responsibilities and expectations while being the head coach. We'll discuss it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Drip Drop. I love these guys. I have Drip Drop in my cupboard right now. So kicking off the year feeling good is the goal, right? And honestly, hydration is the easiest win. When I stay on top of it, my energy, focus, and mood all level up. But let's be real. Plain water doesn't always cut it, especially when you're grinding through long days, hitting the gym, or just trying to stay consistent with your health goals. That's where Drip Drop comes in. Doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Think clearer focus, better energy, elevated mood, and even that fresh skin glow. I've been using Drip Drop for the last several weeks. Truly. I've got it in my cupboard, open. It's about half empty. It's honestly a game changer, not just for workouts, but for every single day. You know, like it gets warm in Arizona at times. Even when it's cold outside, it's dry out. You get dehydrated. And Drip Drop has helped me. Its science-backed formula is trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of top college and pro teams because it rehydrates you faster and more effectively than water alone. Right now, Drip Drop's offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Dude, if you haven't got on the Prize Picks wagon, you got to. The big game's almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And this week, Prize Picks has a special max discount for the big game live in the app right now. Drake May just needs one passing yard for the max discount to win. Add another player to your lineup, and if your pick hits, you can cash in. Prize Picks is super simple to use, takes no time to get started. The whole format is clean. Pick more or less than 2 player projections, and that's it. If you get the majority of them, you can cash out. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Now listen, I'm not trying to be some sort of Debbie Downer here at all. It's exciting. They'll have some juice. And I said last year, and I still believe this, growing up is realizing that a sexier defense is better than a sexier offense. And I still believe that to be true, unless LaFleur can get these guys scoring 30 burgers a game. I'll be TBD until then. This isn't a matter of being a curmudgeon or always complaining or being negative about this team. Okay? If I'm positive, it's, oh, you're blowing smoke. If I'm negative, oh, what makes you happy? So I try to find a medium between the two. Cautious optimism, I guess, is where you need to be right now. We will be doing a deep dive on Michael LaFleur. I will have John Butchko from Locked On Jets will join me. I'm going to get one of those Rams hooligans over at Locked On Rams, and Brian Peacock from Locked On 49ers, even though it's a while ago and he was pass game coordinator with the 49ers, to pick his brain a little bit about Michael LaFleur as well. So we're going to be getting a lot of information from people who have covered him a lot closer than I have over the years to get a much brighter picture and clearer picture on who he is as a coach, a person, leader, etc. There is one thing when you talk about initial pros and cons as pertaining to somebody from a Shanahan or McVay tree, they're leaders. They're leaders, which is good. More demonstrative leaders. Like Liam Cohen went from the Duval viral clip to just being an absolute demon on the sidelines. I think that even though it's cosmetic at times, it's just a personality trait. And we saw fire from Jonathan Gannon just in different ways. The stoic sideline thing, it'd be fun to have a little shift. And I know last year there wasn't a whole lot to not be stoic about. You saw a lot more animation from him in 2024. But, having a guy who's a good leader, who's been taught to be a good leader through his, almost 20 years in football, that's going to be a good thing for the Cardinals right away. Having a breath of fresh air with the coach on the other side of the ball that isn't Steve Wilks to Cliff Kingsbury or isn't BA to Steve Wilks, I think is going to be nice. When you have a guy who did reset the culture here like Jonathan Gannon did, he had some shortcomings. He wasn't the best situational play caller as a head coach, determining the right call for a certain play in a certain situation, 4th and 1s, kicking field goals, when to call timeouts. He changed the culture here. He wiped clean the Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim connection from here. Outside the lines, this organization is fully functional from Monty Ossenfort down. In between the lines is where they struggled last year. So now you're going to maintain that. Okay, it's not going to look the same, but a guy like Michael LaFleur will be able to expand on it and obviously put his touch on it. It's going to be his foundation. But what Jonathan Gannon did was the bridge between not good and hopefully good, at least foundationally for the future of this team with the culture, etc. I know it sounds cliche, but it needs to be discussed. The leadership will be there. The offensive scheme will not be boring. The offensive scheme will be much more revolutionary than what we've seen, regardless of who was quarterback when Drew Petzing was calling the plays. That's not a knock on Drew Petzing. That is more of a say that, hey, this is going to be a 2026 offense for the Cardinals. Maybe that's all they desperately needed to be able to stay in games, regardless of having running backs or not last year. That's a pro. It's what's coming with it. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know if it's going to be clunky out the gate with the first-time head coach being a play caller also. This is the first time he's ever going to do this. We don't know if it's going to be something where he'll just seamlessly move in and be able to do it. But we do know the offense will look significantly different and will be significantly upgraded from what we've experienced the last 3 seasons. That's a pro, you would think. Next, another pro. Having a young, fresh face on the opposing side of the ball is a breath of fresh air. I mentioned it. I'm reiterating it. It is a big thing to be able to have a collective exhale, be like, okay, this is new. Let's have fun again. And you hope a pro of that, a pro of a new offense, a pro of a leader, a pro of all of these things the McVay and Shanahan tree is, the defense won't have to save the day, which would allow the defense to not be overstrained, to not be on the field too much, to be able to just play their game regardless of who the DC is going to be. We'll talk about that later. It's all interconnected. Not having a run game last year strained the defense because the offense couldn't run a traditional offense. Michael LaFleur ushered in the rush attack in LA. Made Kyron Williams a household name. Obviously, Sean McVay helped. But those things are positives. Cons. What are the cons for bringing in a first-time head coach who's never been a head coach and called plays before? Everything else. It's not a con. It's a question mark. Because we don't know. There's no empirical evidence on anything else. A con right now is who's going to be DC of this team. A con right now is who's going to be OC of this team. And it's not a con forever. It's a negative because we don't know what the hell's going on. Because the Cardinals had to take so long to get their guy, not only because they were reaching for others and because of the Clint Kubiak situation for both sides with LaFleur and the Cardinals. I saw a report. I thought it was 18 or 21 openings for offensive coordinators. Obviously, because Michael LaFleur and Clint Kubiak left, that added to it. Todd Monken left. It's like there's 21 openings. Some are filled, over half are filled, about half. It's like the Cardinals are not just like, oh, cool. There are like 5 dudes who didn't get a job. The Cardinals can pick who they want. No. They're now going to have to fight again to bring somebody else over. And I joke about having, Michael LaFleur having a splinter cell of just like McVay and Shanahan disciples just peppered in that nobody knows about across the league. You can just pluck one and be like, yep, got him. Don't worry about it. This was the plan all along. It's a con right now because we don't know what it is. That could change in 2 days. That's where the hesitancy for me is like, okay, great. His history is good. And it's unfair. It's unfair to say this. But I don't know why, I don't know why I do this with this specifically, but I kind of equate it to and this isn't fair for Marv yet, okay, but up until this point, I kind of equate it to the Ohio State just run on wide receivers. Marv's the only one that hasn't really worked out so far. So it's like, okay, cool. They hired a McVay disciple, and they're all over the league with head coaching or DCs or former DCs or OCs, whatever it is. I hope this is the one that bucks the trend. Because Cardinals fans need this. I mean, media members would like some positive things to talk about too. And the only reason I pushed back on it initially was it was more of like a scapegoat for the entirety of this process. Whereas the combination of the Cardinals not wanting, or the people not wanting to coach the Cardinals not making it so clear that they wanted Michael LaFleur and made him not leave Arizona without a deal to make him still wandering eye it to Vegas before deciding on the Cardinals when Vegas chose Clint Kubiak. Seems more of like an arranged marriage than two sides that actually wanted to do work together. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. What's next? What's next? So much. We'll discuss it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time where a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. And that's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. I like how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. It works right from your phone or computer, and you could even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps, so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNFL. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNFL. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by the Game Time app. So I've used the Game Time app so much, especially since they've become a part of our team here over the years. I mean, they've been with us for years. And there's nothing like being in an NBA arena. Okay. The crowd, the energy, the moment, getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. And that's why Game Time has been the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It just puts the advantage back where it belongs, with you, with the fans. Pulled up the Game Time app, picked an upcoming NBA game, and had tickets locked within minutes. When you see the price next to the tickets, that's what you pay. There's no fees at the end. The view from your seat feature, where you click on something, you're like, hey, I haven't seen a Suns game in a while. I actually haven't sat in that section in a row ever. Let's see what the vantage point's going to be. You click on it, and you could go like this. It's a panoramic view from your seat, so you can see what the vantage point's going to be before you buy it. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. Join the Everydayer Club. I had the wrong link in the description. The new link, the proper link, is in the description. Got a handful of people reaching out in the Discord, DMing me. Let's build this family here, man. This is going to be a really fun offseason. It's going to be fun free agency period, even more fun draft. Mock drafts are starting to fly. This is going to be really good. Okay, so what's next? Which is more important now, to find the OC or to find the DC? Up until the point of Michael LaFleur this morning was reported as he's going to be calling the plays moving forward. It's got to be DC. It was probably DC before. Is it going to be Nick Rallis running it back? I know that there's a collective groan when I ask people, like, people come up to me and they're like, hey, you know what? DC, would you keep Nick Rallis? Would you keep Nick Rallis? I'm like, yeah. I mean, Raheem Morris took the DC job with the 49ers. So that was everybody was saying, oh, it's going to be LaFleur and Raheem Morris. Obviously it's not. So that's why I just kind of wait until things happen and, read big pictures and things like that. I think running it back with Nick Rallis would be fine. I think it would be fine. I also think there could be freedom. Like it's going to be one of two things. It would be trial by fire because he's not going to have anybody looking over his shoulder. I'm not saying Jonathan Gannon was a deterrent to Nick Rallis at all, but freeing from the nest, the little bird flying away from the nest, just like Michael LaFleur is doing from Sean McVay, it's like, well, let's see what the kid's got. And I do think when the majority of the defense was injured last year, and again, it wasn't so much that everybody was injured at one time, which there were times like that. Will Johnson, Garrett Williams are both out. It was more of like one key player was out every week, and it was a different player every week. There was a collection of guys that were out longer than that, but a lot of it was, there were like 7 dudes. One guy was out every week. So how do you get any sort of collective momentum if that's the case? Playing 4 or 5 safeties on the field at a time. Plus the offense couldn't run the ball. And then after the bye week, giving up 40 burgers wasn't great. I just don't know if you want to take a chance on somebody else to come in and implement a completely new defense, or if you run it back with Nick Rallis and say, you know what, last year was the fluke, go. And of all the people, and I know that Kyler Murray got hurt, I know the run game, like, it's difficult. It's difficult to determine, like, who was affected most by the injuries last year. Who was affected most? Obviously, Jonathan Gannon was fired, so, like, directly affected, it was him. But, like, in existential time, weeks 1 through 18 last year, who was the most affected by injuries? And I think it was the defense. Okay, so yes, Kyler Murray got hurt, got put on IR, was out for the year. James Conner, Trey Benson, neither of them played after week 5. So that hurt the offense, obviously. And this isn't like a backhanded thing to Drew Petzing whatsoever, but it's like all of that strain went to the defense to save the day. And then Garrett Williams gets hurt week 2. Will Johnson gets hurt week 2. You thought he could be out for a long time. He wasn't. Max Melton misses time. Walter Nolan was out for 2 months. Like, Mac Wilson was on IR for a long time. Like, the defense crumbled last year. So I think running it back with Nick Rallis would be fine. It wouldn't even be a devil, it'd be a comfort on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that you could do a lot worse than that. Now, the OC, obviously lesser because Michael LaFleur is going to have to put somebody in to learn his system. Hopefully it's somebody that's part of the tree already and you would expect it to be. By and large, this weekend taught us this is a new frontier. This is something that the Arizona Cardinals are going to have to adjust to quickly. They're going to have to figure out what to do with free agency. They're going to have to figure out what to do with the the team as a whole, and it'll be fascinating to see what they do. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I will talk to you tomorrow.